Today I'm going to be taking a look at The Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan's 1999 classic. This is the Steelbook version of The Sixth Sense, which I got in FOP in the West End of London in the 3 for £50 deal. It's not going to be the best UHD disc you've ever seen, but it really is very good. February 27th in the year 2000 was when my wife and I saw The Sixth Sense. That was at the Shaftesbury Avenue Cinema, and I showed that recently in London. It's sadly closed. Looks like it's being demolished, but I'm told there is going to be a studio cinema in the new building. Let's hope so, but another great cinema has bitten the dust. Now, I mentioned that this isn't going to be the best UHD disc you've ever seen. Well, after watching the 4K, because I wasn't too impressed with it, but I don't really remember much about a cinema visit to see it back in 2000. So I thought that indicates to me that I wasn't that impressed with it at the cinema. And this 4K does sort of present an image quality that doesn't exactly blow your socks off, but it is good. And to confirm that, I put the Blu-ray in, and that looked terrible by comparison. Too bright, the colours are too vivid, too rich, and it simply doesn't work. In fact, because it's so bright, I don't know if it's that or if they applied a lot of image noise reduction, but I think it's because it's too bright. Skin tones look too reflective. They don't look realistic. And so I went upstairs and found the original DVD of The Sixth Sense, and my conclusion was that I preferred that to the Blu-ray. The colours are too vivid, it's too bright again. The skin does look a little reflective, but I think the lower image quality of this gives it a more natural feel. The only thing that probably gives this away as being a DVD is the opening titles and the end titles, because DVD didn't really have the quality there to start with. But the 4K disc, it's got a good grain structure to it, more so I think than the Blu-ray or indeed the DVD. So it looks nice, the colours are muted, it's a sort of toned down film. And that is how I think I can remember seeing it in the cinema, because it didn't give me that look at the colours feeling that you often get with film, and look at the density of that. The density is there, the colours are muted, it's got the look of a haunted house or a ghost story feel to it. And so that's exactly what you want with The Sixth Sense. So in that regard, I'm impressed with the film now on this 4K disc. And I waited a couple of days, took a second extensive look at it, and I thought, yes, it's a very good UHD disc. But don't rule out the DVD if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, because you can probably get this for next to nothing in charity and thrift stores around the world. It's got good definition on it, and I don't think it needs to be the best looking film you've ever seen, because as I found with The Sixth Sense when we saw it the first time, I felt that it's only really got one good viewing in it, and the second viewing you're effectively just checking what you saw to make sure you fully understand it. And so The Sixth Sense on DVD, although it's not as good as the 4K, when you think you can get that for such little money, it might be worth considering. And now that I've mentioned DVDs, Keith at Euphoria Pictures featured this recently in one of his videos, but it was the new Arrow 4K release of The Invasion. I didn't actually know this was ever made, so I'd never seen it, and I was tempted to get the 4K, but I thought I'm just going to watch it and put it on the shelf. It won't actually bear a full review, or won't get many views if I do that. So I held off, and then I was in a charity shop a few days ago. This was in their 10p each sale, so I thought I'd take a look at the DVD. And another one that came out on 4K recently that I couldn't really generate the enthusiasm for. I didn't think it would get many views as a review. The Piano, which another one I'd never seen. This was in the 3 for £1 deal in another charity shop, and it's got one of those slip boxes, so a very nice pack. And it's got 2 discs in here, so that was 33 1/3p. And you quite often find with these DVDs, when you put them on in here in the cinema, they stand up surprisingly well. So I know a lot of people say to me that on their tellies DVD just isn't good enough, they don't consider them anymore. Perhaps don't write them off quite yet. It might be something with your settings, because how do they not look good on a telly? And you're in here at 10 feet wide or about 8.5 feet wide for a 1:8:5:1 film. They do stand up very well. Yes, they're not film quality quite, but they're not far off a lot of the time. Anyway, back to The Sixth Sense. This has a running time of around 1 hour and 47 minutes, comes with an aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1 approximately, and DTS 5.1 sound. The DVD had Dolby Digital 5.1, but they both sounded very similar to me in here. Couldn't really differentiate anything. Now, I think the surround sound is very good on this film. It's impressive, but it's not like one of the big action modern films that you'll see. This is suitable for the content, the ghost story and the suspenseful elements of The Sixth Sense, and it just subtly comes in behind you when one of those sequences is coming up. So I was very impressed with the sound and the way it complements the imagery, and the imagery, as I said, I'm rather impressed with now, having gone through it, thought about it, and think, yes, this is exactly how The Sixth Sense needs to look. Can't tell you that was exactly how it looked in a cinema, because I can't honestly remember, but it's how I imagine it would have looked or should have looked in a cinema. So a very impressive film. Bruce Willis probably at his best. Toni Collette as the mother of Haley Joel Osment's character, the young boy who's brilliant in this film. You'll probably know him as well from AI, artificial intelligence. I think he's had a successful career up to this day, has done many roles, and it's easy to see why when you see the role that he played and carried off in this as such a young boy. So overall a great film, but I do think you've only got that one great viewing, and then afterwards it's just a sort of an appreciation. So not the most repeatable film, and indeed that's how I found it. I haven't really always been too enthused to get the DVD out and watch that again, and so it took some effort to work up to getting the 4K, and it was only when I saw it was a Steelbook in the 3 for £50 as well as the standard release, I thought now's the time to actually pounce on that, because when do you get the chance to get a Steelbook? It's not the nicest Steelbook in the world, but when do you ever get the chance to get a Steelbook for such a good price? It had an estimated budget of $40 million and took at the worldwide box office $673 million. So a huge success, and I can well remember the word of mouth about The Sixth Sense at the time. This was in the days before the internet really got going, or the World Wide Web, and people would tell you if they'd seen a good film at the cinema, and as a result many more people would go to see it. So I think it was the word of mouth and probably good reviews about the twist ending that really generated such a large audience for The Sixth Sense. So I recommend this 4K UHD pack. I think it's a very good release. It's not going to be the best thing you're ever going to see on home video 4K UHD, but it's such a good film. It represents how the film looked in the cinema as far as I can tell, and what more could you ask for really? So there's another one to add to that ever-growing shopping list and depleting that poor old wallet. Right, other films that M. Night Shyamalan has done that I have in my collection, which I'll show you on screen, but I think when you consider he'd only done 2 films, I believe, before he did The Sixth Sense. They hadn't been too successful, and then he exploded onto the world with The Sixth Sense, and he's had an amazing career ever since. So quite a director. I think some people get upset when he doesn't do, or they don't think his latest film is brilliant, but I've rather enjoyed them all. There's 1 or 2 that I've seen I haven't been particularly enamoured with, but overall I have enjoyed them all, and a couple of them I've absolutely loved, and The Sixth Sense is one of those, even if I don't think it's the most repeatable film ever made. Right, I think that brings us to the end of this one. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, perhaps subscribe if you haven't already, and until the next video, bye bye for now.